Yabi, Kola Yuha Ichichiab, Ani Buju. This is Chase Iron Eyes with Native American Patriot Talk on 950 AM radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. This is season 1, episode 2. You can look forward to 24 episodes, inshallah, Dakawaka Chimpi, Lord willing, over the next 11 months. We're going to get this done. And I'm joined today by two special friends, allies, people that I've met because of the gravity and the magnitude of the situation in Minneapolis, St. Paul, what the good people of Minnesota have been confronted with. I was able to meet the woke farmer, Will Kelly. Will Kelly, also known as the woke farmer, and also Ian Austin. And you might remember their names because they were arrested as part of the city church incident, and they were and are being politically targeted from the highest levels of these United States, our United States. And if you recall this show happens the first and third Tuesday of every single month. And I was honored to be able to do my first inaugural episode 2 weeks ago. And that was an update on what we are facing in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Minnesota. And what I termed, and others have termed, a criminal seizure of constitutional order. And we are not in normal times, but I do want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to 950 AM radio. It's an honor to be here with you, gentlemen. And I want to ask Brother Will Kelly, first, just to make an introduction about who you are, where you're from, what brought you to Minneapolis, and what you're thinking today and how you're feeling today.
Thank you, Chase. My name's William Kelly. I'm a combat veteran and activist, a patriot. I came to Minneapolis. I came to Minnesota because I saw what was happening here. I saw it was a city under siege, thousands of federal agents coming down on the people with no regard for due process, no regard for the law. I've been an activist across the country, but I saw that this was the focal point. This was the focal point of basically a coup. We see Donald Trump using this private army to terrorize the people. And so I couldn't ignore it. I had to come here. I had to stand up. And now I'm staying here because I see that the community here is so strong, is so powerful, that there is nowhere in this nation that, is standing together like the Twin Cities.
It's true. That's what brought me here. I saw what happened I don't even remember the order anymore. Was it Los Angeles? Was it Chicago? Was it Seattle? Everybody that this particular president and whatever the forces are around this presidency and this administration, which I've called a radical and racist and rogue minority. They're definitely in the minority, but because they control a legitimate arm and institution of our United States, they have this air of legitimacy and authority, and that the air of legitimacy and authority that they enjoy because of the institution that they are personaling right now is quickly dissipating. All kinds of things are happening that are challenging the way that we as Minnesotans, as Americans, as patriots, the way that we see what constitutes law and order and constitutional order. We see that they are truly rogue, and the law and order which has sustained our country for 249 years. And as a Native American patriot, that has deep spiritual meaning for me as well. But thank you for that, Ian Austin. Thank you for being here. I remember when you hollered out from the van. You didn't yell, but you stated very clearly. Obviously, you didn't expect to be arrested, but I remember you clearly stating the name of my friend and partner, another brother that I met here, James Cook. You said, tell James Cook that I'm being arrested. And James, bless his soul, man, he'll be back. But he's a local Minnesotan, homegrown Minnesotan, Minneapolis, St. Paul. He describes himself as a punk rock person from Minneapolis, St. Paul. So, Ian, I want to give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself, and feel free to state why you're here.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Ian Austin. I grew up just outside of Philadelphia. I spent 6 years in 1st Ranger Battalion in the United States Army, did 6 combat deployments, 2008, 2014 in Afghanistan. I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a poet, I'm a patriot, I guess I could say. Although I would also like to say that that phrase almost makes me feel slightly uncomfortable, because I feel like I'm a human first, right? And I'm not a big fan of this. Oh, this is our country, this is your country, and we should all be at odds. And you had asked, sort of what brought us out here. I mean, I was just at home working on my mental health, and I was actually doing some homework for the therapy program that I was in, and I saw a video, and it was when Renee Good was murdered, and it sort of pierced my veil. I had to take action, and I decided right then I'm going out there, and spent the next 24 hours deciding if I was going to drive or fly. And I didn't know in what way could be of use, but I know that in these dangerous situations, that's where I feel most alive. That's where I feel most effective as a human being. And so I don't necessarily know what I can do, but I know I can go and put myself between ICE and innocent people. And I'm comfortable doing that, and with the risks involved with that.
Respect to that. Same thing happened at Standing Rock 10 years ago. It's going to be the 10-year anniversary of the Dakota Access Pipeline struggle. That's where I first confronted or stepped up to that thin line where tyrannical power, corporate fascist power, you find out quickly who is determining the energy and geopolitical policy of our United States. And I faced, prison time for that. But I wanted to return the conversation because, and I respect that, Ian, patriot is a powerful word. And it means that you have convictions about what our country should be. And the more perfect union that our founding fathers, these founding fathers, purported, and the pillars with which they stood. And they're creatures of their time. They were men, they were European Christian males, and that demographic, that the seats of power, privilege, and prosperity were designed for that demographic. But we're 250 years into this. And in order for us to survive, we've got to come together. But patriot, returning to that word patriot, I didn't like how those who were claiming to be patriots and those that don't tread on me crowd and whoever those people are, I don't fully understand where they're coming from, but they had a certain air of, they don't own that term. They don't own that term. You in this room here with me today are my brothers in struggle, and I'll stand by you. You'll stand by me. And this is the more perfect union that we're able to create. But I want to return to military service because that's important. Native Americans serve the United States at higher rates pro rata, proportionately, than any other demographic. We always say that because those forces that are trying to divide us because of our fears, our insecurities, our differences, they will not win. They will not win. But I wanted to ask you why you joined the military, in terms of the context that we see today, where, yes, any nation, we have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right to just defense, and we should be equipped for that. But I want you to speak on, because I was never in the U.S. military, but I want to give you an opportunity to speak on, why you joined, what that means to you. What does that mean to you to be here today and to see what's happening with ICE and what they're doing to American people?
I think for me, well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't join the military out of patriotism. I didn't believe in the war in Iraq. I joined the military because I was a teenager with no future. I joined for socialism, because what we see in the military is the military gets healthcare, the military gets housing, the military gets opportunity in the form of the GI Bill for a college degree. So I joined the military like many other men. I joined out of desperation. But what I learned in the military is that we're all together. We saw a unit of Black, Latino, Indigenous, white men coming together. We were all green. We were all there for the same thing, which was supposed to be patriotism, was supposed to be the Constitution, was supposed to be defending the nation. But as we know now, it was never about that. It was about George Bush and Cheney's profit. But what I learned is that we can all come together as one people. We don't need to be divided. Together, we can stand for something. So that was really what I took home from the military. You were supposed to have things like honor, discipline, loyalty. Those, core components that we were taught really stuck forward and meant something to me, and really pushed me towards this level of activism that I'm doing now, because, we're seeing what's happening with these ICE agents. They're not coming to just get immigrants. They're coming to terrorize the American people. So it's more important than ever that we stand together, against these evil forces.
Thank you for that. My family is a military family, and I remember Desert Storm and Desert Shield like it was yesterday. And so, Ian, I'd like to ask you the same thing. How did you end up serving in the military? And I want to reiterate and put a pinpoint on what Will just said. That is like almost like a deliberate financial oppression, so that human beings, in order to survive, the military looks extremely attractive. And we should pinpoint that is socialist behavior. That is socialist culture. That is human beings trying to take care of each other. And we should be incentivizing there should be healthcare for American citizens. There should be student debt relief. You shouldn't have to go into crushing debt. Dental and vision, I don't know how those are separate from healthcare, but we should have that. And our veterans should not be forgotten. Our veterans should not end up homeless. Our veterans should be paid well. They should be financially secure, and veterans should be respected. And you don't respect veterans the way what Trump is doing. Did you see how flippant, how disingenuous, how ungenuine his attitude is towards our soldiers? These are men and women. And to him, it's like a Monopoly game or something. Just listen to him.
Suckers and losers.
Oh my gosh. So Ian, can you speak about your what you were thinking when you joined, and how you're reflecting those thoughts now?
Yeah. Well, I was an athlete growing up, and I thought I was going to be playing sports in college. And well, what's jumping into my brain right now, so I'll just get it out and see where it goes after, is something I wrote was 17 years old, captaining every team, arm snaps in half. There goes your dream. 8:17. So sorry about this. Sorry, 1 second. What it brought me to was this memory of this poem that I wrote. 17 years old, captaining every team, arm snaps in half. There goes your dream. Well, shit, guys, sorry, this is just not coming to my brain right now. But the moral of the story is that I thought I was going to be playing sports in college. My arm snapped in half. I'm not going to be getting any money for playing sports. And I had this tremendous fear of student loan debt, these massive amounts of money. And so here's this opportunity. Well, I've been recruited at wrestling camps, all these places. They're sending military recruiters. And boy, it seems like I might be pretty good at that. Oh, they're going to give me money for school. Well, that's incentivizing. But I think the undercurrent that drew me into it was actually what I now know was propaganda, mostly coming from Fox News. I mean, I even remember watching it literally in school, of them talking about the weapons of mass production. And I ended up fighting in Afghanistan. But what drew me to the military, that here's this just cause, this thing that I'm going to fight for, ended up being lies and propaganda that I think so many people, probably like myself and Will, and from our time, that led us into joining the military, going to these wars that we fought in. And it's so similar to what we're seeing today.
And on top of that, like the propaganda wasn't just Fox News. If you think about it, it's in the media, it's in the movies. It's, you know, from a young age, recruiters are coming to schools and showing off, you know, Humvees and how cool the military equipment is and stuff. It's at every level of the fabric of our society.
I just came from a high school state wrestling tournament, and the National Guard is there, and you can do 10, 20, 30 push-ups and you earn some promotional marketing tool. They are tools of propaganda, and there's a difference between a soldier and a warrior. Somebody who's paid to carry out the will of a certain other class. And just so just there's too much stuff going on. Like I was just gonna say the Epstein class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why is it that these rich this rich demographic, this filthy wealthy oligarchy is able to determine the future of our lives, of our families' lives? You know, that's where for me, I wasn't a soldier, or I didn't join the military, and we make that distinction. We completely honor and uphold our military men and women, our military families who choose to serve for whatever reasons. You heard some of the true reasons why people serve here today on 950 AM radio. But we also uphold and honor every human being's right, everyone who also calls themselves an American, to ask why. Why do you expect me to go die? Why do you expect me to be called to make the supreme sacrifice while you sit in some ivory tower cubicle, or worse, like Netanyahu starts a whole mess and then flees, leaves his people as Israel, Tel Aviv, Haifa is being bombed? He leaves, like he's not willing to defend that soil and stay with his people. That's wild to me. So thank you for those reflections. We should be able to ask why. There's nothing wrong with asking why. We should be able to demand that our military service men and women are treated with dignity. Whatever you guys have experienced, my family has experienced that, and I know that they weren't the same. My brother wasn't the same after Desert Storm and Desert Shield. My good friend from high school, took him 4 long years to find his way back to some sort of, you know, stasis or spiritual reintegration from the turmoil that our soldiers go through. What has to be done, and like I said, I understand having a strong military and being able to justly defend our country, but to go and terrorize the world and to sell to our young people that this is protecting freedom, this is protecting American rights and patriotism. We shouldn't have to lie to our own people. We shouldn't have to propagandize. We should be able to say, hey, look, this is our country, and we deserve a more perfect union, not one where the powers that be lie to us and send us like toy soldiers to die in their pursuit, their blood profiteering and their munitions profiteering. So, you know, I just wanted to say that, and thank you for being here. I'll give you each an opportunity to close out this first session, and then we're going to take a break and we'll come right back. So, you know, what do you consider to be tyranny, and what do you consider to be free speech? Maybe start on that, Will, because you're deep in it.
I mean, you know, a lot of people that know me will know that I've been pushing the limits of the First Amendment, you know, to the extreme. Like, I'm facing a trial from the White House arrest in December for, you know, raising my voice at Trump supporters at a Christmas reception. I think that it's important that we push that, because they are, they're coming after us for our First Amendment right. As Ian and I know too well from being at the city's church protest, the Department of Homeland Security is persecuting peaceful protesters. They're showing up at our doors with M4s drawn, aggressively arresting us for a peaceful protest. Why did the local police not come with them and just arrest us like the normal, chain of command? So we're seeing the falling of freedom of speech in America. They are attacking it at an unprecedented level. So we need to continue speaking up. That is our right. That is our first. It's the First Amendment for a reason. And we're seeing it be under attack by Kristi Noem, by Donald Trump. They're trying to build an empire, and they are going to continue if we do not get in the streets and speak up against them.
That's right. We only have those rights that we're willing to assert and that we're willing to defend. And those rights for all of us as American people, American human beings, those rights are inalienable. Those are the rights that were spoken about in the founding organic documents, the culture of the United States of America. And as a Native American, I'm running back into the source documents that created the United States of America, because for a long time I saw things just through my lens as an Oceti Shakoe, as a Dakota Lakota person. But Standing Rock is what really brought me into a different bridge building mission, to make those connections with human beings who are with me, and I'm with you in this. But Ian, what is your experience? We talk about free speech, freedom of the press. Those are inalienable rights. Speech, press, assembly, be able to be free from illegal searches and seizures. Even the Second Amendment is inalienable. But what are your thoughts? What is tyranny to you? What does free speech mean to you? Or, just express yourself before we close this first session.
Yeah. So what's jumping out to me as you're saying that is, well, what we're seeing right now with Iran and really all over the globe is that we're getting into wars, we're attacking without congressional approval. And, I'm not an expert on the United States political machinations, but what I do understand Congress to be is a representation of the people. And so if a president and a regime is unilaterally attacking other countries without congressional approval, essentially that's without the voice of the people. And I don't have any numbers or anything, but I would assume and believe very much to be true that the overwhelming majority of this country does not want to be entering another war. And so they're not listening to Congress, what's supposed to be the voice of the people, and then they're attacking Nakima, Will, myself, 39 people arrested at the church, just as an example, but this is happening all across the country. They're attacking us for standing up, for saying, no, we're not about this. This is the United States. We are the people coming together, raising our voice. And they're trying to criminalize and silence us for expressing basic fundamental rights, while also not listening to Congress. So I guess my question to the people in the United States would be like, what do we have as a people, right? I mean, in Minnesota, we're seeing the state, the local, the sheriffs, the conservation officers doing work for ICE and getting in the way. So we're being sort of hit from all angles, and the fact that it's being criminalized for what I understand to be like fundamental to what the United States is, right? Is our ability to come together as a people and say, hey, we disagree with this. And if we don't have that, what do we really have? We're not really a republic. We're not a democracy. I mean, there's different words we could use to describe it, but none of them are very positive, if you ask me.
And to top on that, he's talking about Congress. By Congress not, limiting Trump's powers to invade Iran right now, waiting till Wednesday to even talk about it, they're giving up their power. They're saying Donald Trump is king. They are giving up their right, their power, the checks and balances. They're just throwing it away.
We need to complete a refiguration, a renegotiation of the social contract. We are in dangerous times, but that also means that we have to be strong together. But this is Native American Patriot Talk on 950 AM radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. I'm here with Will Kelly, the woke farmer, and Ian Austin, and we're going to take a short break. Okay, Dayawa Chiankapelo, Yuha Metakiapi Kola, Yuha Chichab Ani Buju. This is Chase Iron Eyes with Native American Patriot Talk on 950 AM radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. Again, I'm here with Will Kelly, the woke farmer, DA woke farmer on Instagram and other platforms. It might be different for Facebook because Brother Will's platforms have been taken down by forces outside of his control. So the woke farmer, look for him. Ian Austin at Weapon of Mass Production on Instagram and other platforms. These are both military veterans sitting in studio with yours truly. And we're going to pick up with Iran because what is happening is not normal. And I believe that this is what is meant when people, and I don't like to mention the Voldemorts of the world, but, Steve Bannon, there are people in that corporate fastest orbit who are in a war room every day. Every day they are strategizing about how to completely diminish and tighten the noose around the American people who enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those of us who are conscious of those rights and brave enough to assert them and defend them. That's why I call this show Native American Patriot, because all together we do have to be conscious and we do have to be brave. And we need that from our leadership too, of any political persuasion. Our leaders, I can hear it in Will's voice when he speaks. Where are you? Where is our leadership? If you're progressive and if you respect who we are as Americans and what our potential is to be as Americans, if you respect that, then you got to be willing to fight for that. That's the peace that we have to be willing to fight for. We deserve peace. Our families deserve peace. They're not giving it to us. They're not going to give it to us. We have to fight for it. But flooding the zone is where I was going with that. Flooding the zone, just catastrophic, seismic, existential threat after threat after threat. Bodies, Alex Preddy, Renee Nicole Good, 30 other people killed by ICE. Just the most serious and egregious things that shock our conscience. Things that we never expected. Maybe the veil is being lifted. I don't know. Maybe we've been a tyrannical force, and maybe we need conscious and brave people, families, people who want a more perfect union for our children. Maybe we need to be more assertive. Maybe we need to step up. And like Will was saying, Trump bombing Iran, who's really guiding that policy? All of a sudden, why are we kidnapping Maduro and looking to secure an oil supply? And then Netanyahu and Trump, whatever's really going on in the Epstein world and the Epstein class, next thing you know, we're bombing Iran and now 14, I believe 12 or 14 things develop every minute. 12 countries who are allies of the United States, Iraq, Oman, Syria, Cyprus, the United Kingdom, NATO, France, Italy, all of these, Dohan, Saudi Arabia, all of these places have been bombed. Iran has this, for them, a brilliant strategy. They've got these cheap $30,000 drones that are finding their way to targets, that are flying solo. The United States of America is spending one, or what is it? How much is a seeker, a response missile that takes a drone down? It's 30. They're paying 30,000. I believe it's 30 million.
For
How,
each bomb.
for each bomb? How are we supposed to be able to afford that? And so, when we talk about Congress being able to hold the line, and for the mistakes that I feel, not only I feel, Ian feels, and even guys like Eric Prince feel that this is a complete mistake. Eric Prince, again, is the founder of Blackwater, a mercenary firm. This guy is like Dick Cheney. He made tremendous wealth off of the manipulation of American military policy. He's a big Trump supporter. Even he's saying we've gone too far. This is not smart. This is there's how many casualties have been reported so far, and how many are being reported in American media. But I want to give you each an opportunity to reflect and pick back up on Iran and what it means to be a soldier in our country, and seeing how the people in control are just they don't get it. They don't get it. So go ahead, Will.
Well, I think the first thing we need to look at is how many U.S. lives have already been lost. And that's just the ones they're telling us. I think we've lost 6 U.S. service members already. We've had 3 jets shot down by friendly fire. This is absurd. They don't have a plan. They're lobbing missiles at Iran. What other plan do they have? Pete Hegseth never held a command. He never led men in battle. And now he is ahead of this whole operation. I am not confident that there is any plan. What it is a giant distraction. It is Netanyahu controlling Trump through blackmail or other means. We know Epstein was probably a Mossad agent. So we are literally the United States of America serving Israeli interests. There's nothing more to it. And it's also the perfect distraction for Donald Trump, because of how horrible things are going in this nation right now. This country is falling apart. We're headed towards economic disaster if you want to ignore all the social issues. This is a great distraction. It's Machiavellian. It's tyranny 101. Start a war in a foreign land to distract from what's going on at home. But what's also important is realizing that Iran is not just some country like Iraq that is going to fall easy. Iran has a population of 90 million people. They have had, help from Russia and China for years. They're a military force to be reckoned with. So this is only going to end badly. We need to remember in 2014, ISIS was ravaging Iraq after we fought for how many years to stabilize it? And who came in? Iran came in and stabilized half the country so that we could get to where we are now. So this is all just to continue the destabilization in the Middle East, because that is how, the American empire exists. It's not about a democracy anymore. It's about fear and control.
Thank you for that. You mentioned Pete Hegseth, and any one of these guys. I see cosplay. I don't see any real soul expression when. And it's actually dangerous when he's saying things like, no woke politics. This is not a woke war. There are no rules of engagement, no respect for international law, seemingly completely unaware of the long-term damage to the United States and NATO. Like, what are you talking about when Trump is threatening to take over Greenland, and then he's now Germany and other NATO countries are going, and say what you will about NATO. I'm no expert on all of this, but the United States does have real enemies, and we do need friends. And what Trump is finding out, that bullies, people don't have your back. When you're a bully and you're relying on violence or psychological manipulation, like what Spain just refused to let the United States operate out of the country of Spain for the purposes of what's going on in Iran. And the reason was that Spain said, we don't want to support any violations of international law. I mean, people are lining up. So this is important times. It's dangerous times, but also it's times for us to stand in the power of our truth and our peace. We have to do that. We can never give that up. So I want to turn it to Ian to share your thoughts on what we're discussing.
Yeah, sort of a little bit of a different angle, but what's coming up for me is, while you're mentioning flooding the zone, and there's just so much going on right now, like with some social media stuff, I've had people like, oh, you really need to focus on this specific thing. And I'm like, I mean, I feel you, but I'm not really here to like be an influencer. Like we're in an emergency in our country and the globe as humanity. And how could I only be talking about one thing right now? There's so much happening all around us. And so something that was coming up for me as you were talking was this idea of American exceptionalism. And that I know myself, and I think so many of us came up with this understanding, you know, through what we're literally taught and just the information ecosystem around us, that we're the good guys. And I mean, I guess you could sort of say that, like going back to World War II, but I mean, in so many of our actions since then, I mean, I don't think an objective look at it would really say like, oh, these are the good guys, if there's such a thing as good and bad. But I think also you mentioned sort of the veil being lifted. And I believe that a lot of that is happening for a lot of Americans, which takes me back to, you know, the similarity between Iraq, Iran, and this, the similarities between people like myself joining up and that will be happening now and ending up in these seemingly unjust wars. But back then, partially due to the propaganda and to the attacks of September 11th, a lot of the country was with it, you know, was supportive, and they actually got congressional approval. And so what happened with that is that then people have skin in the game. People in Congress had to say, I'm for this or against it. And what's happening now, going back to what we were saying about Congress, the voice of the people not being heard in these aspects, is that people in Congress aren't even having to put any skin in the game. So it's all just the regime. We can just blame the regime. We can just blame Trump and then get him out of here and everything's fine, back to normal. But actually all of these larger machinations that are happening of what controls and how money controls politics and things when he's gone won't necessarily be fixed. And so to sort of close that out, it's like in 2001, the people were kind of with it. The people are not with this. Right. The people are not with this now, and it's happening regardless. And so that just goes back to Congress is supposed to be this voice of the people, and it's been cut out of United States politics. And I mean, that's very, very concerning to me.
Congress needs an enforcement arm. If the federal contract and the separation of powers, the relationship between the three branches of government, you know, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative, and then the relationship between the states and the federal government. How come? This is what's interesting to me. I remember it's too much stuff to track. Like Ian is saying, there's too much, it's flooding the zone. I remember there's so many poignant moments, but I remember when, I think it's Maxine Waters, there were members of Congress that were trying to access the Department of Education when Doge was around, whatever that was. Think of all the data breaches and whatever was represented by whatever that was, Doge and Musk. I remember sitting members of Congress trying to access the Department of Education, and they locked the doors. And you know who was personnelling that operation was another private military contractor called Triple Canopy.
Yeah. Which is the rebranding of Blackwater. I'm pretty
just like Blackwater, just like Tiger Swan. I'm familiar with Tiger Swan because Tiger Swan targeted myself, my daughter, my family, called us religiously driven indigenous jihadis. These private military contractors, that's what I mean. But the military is so important because you do have people like yourselves, like the more than 3,000 people who came to stand with Standing Rock, who realized that what they'd gone through, that they were either manipulated or they were used as a tool for blood, war, and munitions profiteering. And then you're left to pick up the pieces, but you want to redeem. And so you want to stand on the right side of history. 100 years down the road, when we're all in the happy hunting ground and our legacy is here to be discussed, you want your children, your grandchildren, our progeny, our collective progeny to be able to say, my grandfather stood for what was right. He stood in the strength of his convictions, in the power of their peace. there is such thing as just defense, and maybe it was World War II when we last had that moral uprightness of defeating fascism and Nazis, but we didn't defeat them all. They must have survived or something. Like, it seems like a cyclical thing. What Ian is saying is right. You hear Trump up behind a podium, he's barely up there. He's sleepy. You know how he called Biden Sleepy Joe? Trump is tyranny. He's like a wannabe dictator. He's
with dementia.
Tyranny embodied. And they don't have it. They don't want this smoke with the good people of the United States of America. There's more good people who are not racist, who are not prone to fascism. There's way more of us than there are of them. But when Bush was talking about weapons of mass destruction, and when he was selling to the American people that the reasons why we needed to invade, you hear Trump doing that same thing. We ain't buying it. That looks like a propped up candidate who's reading from a teleprompter, who doesn't even feel what the American people are feeling. Now he's up there trying to set the stage for more American casualties.
It's Orwellian. Don't believe your eyes and ears is what the party's asking.
That's what
over and over again they're asking that in national context, in global contexts. It's every day in the news. Something's happening, and they're talking about something adjacent to it. Not even like actually what's happening. It just that's to me is the quote of this time in our history. Is there ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears. This will be their final command. And that's where we're at right now. And it's very concerning.
It's terrifying.
That harkens back to, some of us had social studies teachers or world history professors or American government professors and people that you've leaned on who've taught about. When you mention Orwellian, that references a book called 1984, which talks about the conditions that we seem to be in right now, where fiction is more real than is creating reality. And then there's another one called Fahrenheit 451, Fahrenheit 451, and those are just like Animal Farm. They're basic kind of foundational texts for those who love freedom and enjoy the rights, privileges, and immunities that are so precious. They're so precious. Nobody who votes in an election, and if Trump has his way, and I don't want to politicize this thing because I'm no red or blue. I'm not. I predate that, and so do you. So do we. But we want progressive values. We want respect. They're talking about nationalizing the elections. They were referencing ICE combat ready personnel being at the voting booth. And that sounds like the times of the KKK and the red shirts and suppressing Americans' voting potential, our right to vote. But I also agree, when I'm in the courtroom, when I hear politicians speak, they act as if we do have time. Congress does acts as if they can wait on Iran. Congress acts as if we're going to be able to fix everything in the midterm elections. Is it controlled opposition? I don't know. I always, like you gentlemen, probably go down some rabbit holes, but sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, and we seem to be in very precarious times right now. But I want to pass the mic, and maybe you have something else to offer on what we're going through.
I mean, I think if you really look at it, World War II was the last war the United States fought that helped the American people, that protected the American people. And then after that, we became an empire. We had control of the entire planet, basically. And all we've been doing since World War II was maintain that empire. If you look at it, the Department of Defense is the second largest employer on planet Earth. We are an empire with a republic that is not functioning anymore. And I think that both parties, left and right, are completely complicit in that. And that is why they are not pushing that resistance to this war in Iran. That's why they did not have a vote on Monday, because they are also bought and paid for by AIPAC and other corporate interests. So they want this war just as much as Donald Trump does, but they're also using it as a political tool to be like, oh, blame it on Trump. They won't blame it on the Democrats. I don't think, even if the Democrats win the midterms, we're not going anywhere progressively. Nothing's changing. Things are still getting worse. People still can't afford homes. We still don't have health care. We should have universal health care when a Democrat takes over. But no, we're not going to get that, because it's all a facade. It's a shadow government, and it's an empire.
It's a temporary solution, an election of electing Democrats, if they're not going to forcibly take the next election. It's a temporary solution, right? But it doesn't solve our larger issue as a people of, do the people have a voice in choosing the direction of the nation? It's whether the corporatists or the oligarchs is sort of the Democrats or the Republicans.
And then we continue to go back and forth every 4 to 8 years. There's this shift in power.
Right.
We go to another war. All of our,
and that's where it's right versus left. I mean, it's not right versus left. It's top versus bottom. And if we go back to the right, go back to the left, the top still wins. So we need more drastic change. Absolutely.
Just like the Reds and Blues in ancient Rome. It's the same thing. They had different parties that had no power, that were fighting each other to distract us from the real issue. And that's the people in charge, the Epstein class. I mean, there is no war but the class war is one of my favorite sayings, because it's the truth. They keep us united we stand, divided we fall. Well, guess what, folks? We are more divided now than we ever have been in American history.
I can sort of, go ahead.
That's another, I hear that. I love that, Will. I love all power to all the people, all power to the people, because that's a reference to the chairman, Fred Hampton.
Exactly.
The Rainbow Coalition. That's where we're at. We're right there again. And I agree that we can't have temporary fixes. There's political violence being inflicted on Minneapolis, St. Paul. I was just looking for the names because I didn't want to get them mixed up. But Melissa Hortman, the Hortmans, Melissa Hortman, a state representative, was assassinated along with her husband, and another state senator, John Hoffman, and his wife were injured. And I believe there was a daughter that was the target of gun violence by this political assassin. Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul area is where George Floyd uprising happened and the city was burning. That's not even to mention all the other folks that were killed by MPD and Philando Castile, everyone. Now you have a situation where they feel like they're under attack. I can see it. Tim Waltz, Keith Ellison, Moriarty, she's like the public or the prosecutor or maybe the state's attorney or the county attorney. It's taking them a long time to hold people accountable. Like, why are Renee Good and Alex Preddy's killers, why are they not investigated? Why are they not being detained? Why are they not being charged with something? But according to the latest developments, they do plan to charge and hold people accountable. Eventually came a mask ban so that ICE enforcement agents can't appear and terrorize people with concealing their identities, no name badge, no identifying insignia, like looking like complete goons. But we have we're coming to a close, and I want to give you each an opportunity to weigh in, and we'll start with Ian.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sort of like right back on where we were before, but
right in.
I had written down on my way over here another quote from 1984, Orwell, where he's talking about the war's not supposed to end. It's indefinite. And that's what we're seeing, with it's just so similar to the 90s to the 2000s with this invasion of Iran, and that it's who benefits, right? Are we the people benefiting from this? And my question to the people will be, if we are, in what way? How is this benefiting us? To me, it seems very clear that the money is benefiting, that oil is benefiting, the military industrial complex is benefiting. But I don't believe that this serves we the people of the United States in any way.
And now the empire has come home to roost. We're seeing the same tactics used in Iraq. We're seeing the same tactics used in Afghanistan being used on the American people. And it's only going to get worse until the people rise up, until the people stand up. And thank God the Constitution is amendable, because we need several amendments immediately.
They promised us no new wars. Thank you, gentlemen. These are American servicemen, people who are responsible for the more perfect union that we're going to create, that we are creating right now with our efforts. This is Native American Patriot Talk on 950 AM radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. Again, I'm with Will Kelly, the Woke Farmer 3, DA Woke Farmer 3 on Instagram and other platforms. And I'm also with Ian Austin at Weapon of Mass Production. Please give them a follow and continue to support progressive radio. This is Chase Einers. Thank you very much.